It's time for your statewide Alabama weathercast.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Drew McCombs with the Alabama Weather Network, and this is your mid-morning statewide forecast update. And got our Skywatcher pictures out there, got a blue hare in there out in, up in the tree at Scott Shields' house and Owens Crossroads. So pretty cool looking scene anytime you get one of those big birds hanging around the house. And then Jenny Ellison, who normally lives in Cleveland, is actually out on a cruise right now, and they're near Central America looking at this beautiful view of the ocean with some few clouds in the distance. So definitely a little bit more calmer there than it would be if you were closer to Tropical Storm Jerry, the Leeward Islands. But we're calm here for sure in Alabama this morning, starting off. Beautiful morning, lots of blue skies out there, a few scattered clouds here and there. Some showers back off in southern Georgia. There was a couple of little tiny showers in Escambia County earlier, but generally very dry and cool to start off in the morning, and just beautiful fall day out there. We expect that to continue for the next couple of days. Looking at Gulf Shores, there's a little bit more cloud cover actually down towards the coast right now, 69 degrees. You can see the dew point's at 56, so that dry air mass has made it all the way down to the coast now. But look at the winds. We've got an east-northeasterly wind at 21 miles per hour, gusts occasionally to 31 or so. And so we've got rip currents again that are going to be an issue for today and for tomorrow. And so you want to take it easy and try to not be out in the surf too much, because it is going to be kind of a rough day at the beach again as far as the surf is concerned. Montgomery looking beautiful out there. Blue skies at 67 degrees. Again, look at that dew point of 48 degrees. So again, that dry air mass is firmly entrenched across, especially as you move further to the north. Hoover, beautiful as well. Blue skies at 66 degrees there, looking from the Galleria Tower. Got occasional gust around 23 miles per hour there. Florence, beautiful as well. A few more clouds showing up there, 64 degrees. And again, a little bit of an easterly breeze. So a beautiful view of our sky cams there across the state. Low temperatures this morning got down into the 50s along the eastern and northern side of the state. So 57 in Auburn, 58 in Eufaula, even 59 in Troy. Got up down to 56 in places like Florence. Further towards the south and southwest, a little bit warmer, lower 60s, but still a good bit cooler than we've seen here earlier in the week for sure. And looking at our Skywatcher reports of low temperatures, Gary McGriff in Brooklyn got down to 54, Steve Jones in Heflin 57, Jordan Housen in Chelsea 59, then low 60s elsewhere. Joshua Vest and Moody got to 62, and Duncan Hope in Independence got down to 63 degrees. So here's what we're watching for today and this weekend and next week. A long dry spell is ahead. We don't expect really any rain for the next week or so. Cooler nights, though. It's going to be very fall-like, especially the next several days. But we'll see a warming trend as we get into next week. So we'll see highs kind of nosing back up into the 80s, maybe mid-80s, maybe in upper 80s in the southern part of the state. So thankfully, the humidity will stay fairly low. If we're not going to have any rain, we might as well have low humidity. And so that's going to be the case for the next week as well. Here's your temperatures right now at 65 in Anniston, 66 in Gadsden, lots of 60s across, again, the eastern and northern part of the state. 70s further to the southwest, 72 in Selma, 70 in Thomasville, and we'll be warming again into the 70s in the places that are in the 60s now, probably 80s eventually in the southwest. Dew points, there it is. There's that yellow color table there. That's the drier air that's moved in, again, basically through the entire state at this point. Dew points in the 40s and the 50s, and you can certainly feel it out there with that northerly breeze, northeasterly breeze, and the wind gusts are occasionally, again, getting up to 20, maybe in some cases 30 miles per hour, as we saw at our sky cam in Gulf Shores. 28 mile per hour gust in Dothan, 18 in Geneva, 23 in Andalusia. And with that breeze that we're seeing, and especially the southern part of the state today, that's part of the reason we're getting, again, the rip current statements out. So rip current statement from basically Dauphin Island all the way over to Destin, that's going until tomorrow morning. So for the next 24 hours or so, we want to try to stay on the beach, not out in the water because of the rip currents. And then you've got the small craft advisory out in the coastal waters as well for some heavier swells with that heavy breeze. Here's a look at your future cast. Again, we don't really expect, there could be a stray shower that might try to make it in the eastern part of the state this evening, but generally should just be maybe a few more clouds building in. But otherwise, just look across the rest of the state. We're going to be completely dry and mostly clear. And the same thing as we get into Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, we really start to reestablish that northerly flow again as we get into Saturday, and it's going to be very calm and fall-like and nice and low humidity. Few showers, or decent number of showers, kind of spinning around there in Georgia back off to our east, associated with a low pressure that's developing off the southeast coast and moving up to the northeast, but nothing gets over as far west as Alabama. So again, we just kind of stay under this influence of this high pressure that begins to build in. And there's that low right there that starts to move up the coast, and it's going to be bringing a good bit of rain along the eastern seaboard and in the northeastern part of the country, but we stay firmly entrenched with high pressure. Got a cold front that we'll try to approach later on in the week, but looking at this point that we'll likely have a dry passage with that. Not looking like a big chance of any sort of rain with that, so we expect to can continue to kind of reinforce the dry conditions. And looking even further out than that, looking at the outlook for basically late next week into the following week, looks very dry, well below average for most of the state as far as the precipitation outlook, and then well above average for the temperature outlook. So we're again not seeing huge indications of really chilly air coming in during that time frame. As we get past that later in the month, starting to see some indications we could get a decent cold frontal passage that would bring in a little bit cooler air and maybe a little bit more rain. So we'll hope for that. Looking at your National Shrimp Festival forecast, so this is a great opportunity to go to take in that festival down in Gulf Shores for the next several days, because look at the weather. It's going to be beautiful out there. Highs in the low 80s, lows in the low 60s, upper 50s, about as perfect as you can get there. So definitely, if you feel free to take in the food and the fun there if you're in that area. The Friday night football forecast is about as good as it gets. We're starting off in the northern part of the state with low 70s around kickoff or right before the game, and then falling through the 60s over the course of the games, and then eventually maybe getting to the upper 50s as you're heading home tonight. And then in the southern part of the state, very similar. Beautiful football weather, clear skies, mostly clear skies, with temperatures starting in the low 70s, upper 60s, falling through the low 60s over the course of the game. So it's hard to beat this for a Friday night football game. Here's your 7-day forecast for North Alabama. Really can't find any rain there. You've got nothing but sunshine and very beautiful weather for this entire weekend coming up. Highs in the upper 70s, lows in the low 50s. We expect a few places to hit upper 40s as we get into the next couple of mornings, and then starting to moderate a little bit or warm up a little bit as we get into next week. So we have a little bit of a ridge trying to build in before that next little dry front probably comes through. Then for South Alabama, very similar story. Don't see much at all in the way of rain. It'll be a little bit warmer as we get into the weekend, obviously, than the northern part of the state. And then maybe getting into the mid, maybe upper 80s as we get a little bit further along into next week. Well, that is your forecast for now. We appreciate you watching us as always on the Alabama Weather Network.